You ever have one of those days where it feels like the universe just decides to mess with you? Because that's how it started for me the day the HOA president waved that bright yellow fine in my face, grinning like she'd just won the lottery. $500 for unauthorized fishing. That's what the paper said, bold as brass, and she held it up like it was some kind of trophy. There we were, the lake, all peaceful behind her, sunlight dancing on the water like nothing was wrong in the world, while a whole crowd of HOA folks lined up behind her, half of them filming me with their phones like it was a reality show. I swear I could feel my face turning red, but I just clenched my jaw and stared her down. Now this dock, this whole patch of lake, was my one real escape. The place I came to breathe when life got too heavy. My old man taught me how to fish here, and every cast reminded me of those better days before the HOA turned everything into a battlefield. Karen, the president, leaned in with that sharp little smile and said, "If you can't follow the rules, maybe you should stay away from the lake altogether." That one stung, and not just because she was so smug about it. I walked away that day with my head down, but I promised myself never again. They thought they could push me around, but they had no idea what was coming. Fast forward 2 months, and the same crowd is standing outside a locked gate yelling like someone set their hair on fire. Big new sign on the fence. Private property, show access permanently banned. Trespassers will be prosecuted. And whose name was on the deed right under that sign? Mine. Mark Anderson, the guy they'd fined for fishing. The look on Karen's face when she realized I owned the lake now. Man, I'll never forget it. She turned white as a sheet. I stepped out, keys in hand, and said, "Looks like the lake doesn't belong to you anymore." Their shouts and threats just bounced right off me. I locked the gate, walked back to my cabin, heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon. But you're probably wondering, how does a regular guy end up here owning the lake the HOA tried to control? Let me back up a sec. I'm 34, make my living as a carpenter. Nothing fancy, just steady work and a love for fishing. That lake was my safe spot, a place I could clear my head. The HOA always had rules, but they used to be reasonable. Pay your dues, don't be a jerk, and they'd leave you alone, or so I thought. But Karen, she was something else. Ran the HOA like she was queen of the world, always strutting around in expensive suits, clipboard in hand, her husband Greg trailing behind her, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Lisa was the board's official camera woman, filming every argument like she was angling for an Emmy and Brian. Well, he just nodded at everything Karen said. That's how the trouble started one sunny Saturday. I'm casting my line when Karen storms up, tells me I'm breaking the rules even though it's 10:05 and fishing's allowed. She wasn't interested in the time, she wanted to make a point. Slapped me with a fine for some new rule they cooked up in secret, doubled it when I tried to argue. I walked home with my fists balled, not over the money, but because it was wrong. So I started digging. Late nights at the county records office poking through ownership documents, and that's when I found the twist. The HOA didn't own the lake at all. They just leased access from an old couple, the Collinses, who barely visited anymore. That set my wheels turning. What if I bought it out from under them? A few months later, pure luck, I bump into Mr. Collins at the hardware store. He mentions they're looking to sell, says travel's too much these days. I barely slept that night. Made them an offer at sunrise, and just like that, I owned the cabin and the lakefront. I kept quiet at first, just watching the HOA strut around like nothing changed, handing out tickets, planning their annual barbecue. I waited for the perfect moment during their big party by the lake. I put up the sign and locked the gate. Karen just about lost her mind, and Greg threatened me in front of everyone, saying I'd regret crossing them. Then came the sirens, police rolling up with lights blazing, Karen whispering to Lisa, "Film this, get everything." She tried to have me arrested, claimed I was trespassing on HOA land. Officer Reynolds, good guy, no nonsense, looked over the deed and told them clear as day that the property was legally mine. Watching their faces fall honestly, it felt good, but I knew it wasn't over. That night as I sat on my porch soaking up the quiet, my phone buzzed nonstop. Some folks congratulated me, others warned me to be careful. Days passed, things calmed down. My buddy Jake came over, we fished, laughed, tried to pretend everything was normal. But then I found muddy footprints at the dock, my fishing gear trashed, a broken rod, and the words, "You'll pay," carved into the wood. The cameras I'd installed were wiped clean. I couldn't sleep, kept jumping at shadows. Then one night I hear engines outside, cars rolling up doors, slamming. Karen and Greg, backed by a mob of HOA members, marching up like they own the place. Greg shouting, Karen's waving something shiny, a crowbar it turns out. My heart's beating out of my chest as they start smashing windows, pounding on the door. I called 911, whispering, as I crouched in the kitchen, praying the cops would get there fast. They did, sirens blazing, officers bursting out with guns drawn, ordering everyone to the ground. Karen dropped the crowbar, started bawling about our lake, our rights, but Reynolds was having none of it. "Ma'am, you're trespassing. The lake is his." Cuffed and screaming, they hauled her and the rest away. Greg just glared at me, burning holes through my skull. Thought it'd be over after that. But the next week I get a letter from the HOA's attorney claiming I bought the property illegally, threatening lawsuits, promising to ruin me financially. My savings were tied up in that cabin, and the thought of losing everything made my stomach twist. I barely slept, just sat by the lake wondering if it was worth it. Then out of nowhere, I hear a splash. Lisa, the HOA's camera woman, half drowning in the lake, crying for help. I drag her to shore, shivering and scared, and she confesses Karen sent her to plant something on my property. Before I can press her, Greg steps out of the shadows, clapping slow and menacing, telling me kindness will be your downfall. That one haunted me. The next morning I find a black bag under the porch, cash, drugs, a gun. My first thought is to toss it in the lake, but I take pictures, call Reynolds, let the cops handle it. Turns out Greg tried to set me up. Lisa comes by later in tears, says Greg's connected to people who make others disappear. She hands me a USB with videos, texts, proof, tells me Greg's going to burn the place down with me inside. That same night, masked men show up, gas cans and torches in hand. Cops arrive just in time, tackle Greg as he screams, "This isn't over," and drag everyone away. I should have felt safe, but the next day a black envelope appears on my porch. She may be gone, but I'm still here. Greg's message, plain as day. Then drones start circling my place, dumping chemicals into the lake, and I find a death threat hidden under the dock, 48 hours to leave, or you won't live to see the sunrise. Gunshots echo from the woods. I hole up in the cabin, cameras jammed, heart in my throat. Lisa comes back again, looking like she hasn't slept in a week. Says Greg isn't just angry. He's using the lake as a drop point for something big, illegal, arms, drugs, worse. The USB drive has it all. Just as we're talking, masked men storm the property, torches blazing. Police flood and a firefight erupts, and by some miracle, nobody dies. Greg's hauled away, but as the cops drag him past, he spits, "You'll never be safe." Officer Reynolds tells me, "This goes way beyond the HOA. Greg's just the tip of something much bigger." We move fast, set up surveillance bait the criminals with the lake. That night, under a blood-red sunset, the real players show up, armed, masked, ready for war. The police ambush them, bullets flying, and when the dust settles, Greg and his crew are in cuffs, the lake still standing, the nightmare seemingly over. But as Reynolds pats my shoulder, his radio crackles. "We've intercepted chatter. Someone bigger is coming for that property." I look out at the lake, its surface still hiding 1,000 secrets. The fight for justice, for home. It never really ends, does it? And as a single red flare bursts across the sky from the opposite shore, I know one thing for sure out here. Standing your ground means never letting bullies win, no matter how many masks they wear. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back, or did I just make things worse? Drop your thoughts below. Because trust me, in neighborhoods like mine, the line between right and wrong is thinner than you'd ever believe.